All right, trade recap. I have to re-record this because I started getting into something that's probably not going to help you guys. It's just going to make it 10 times more complicated, and I don't want y'all to overcomplicate your trading. So let's just get into the basics of today, right? So basics, we take a look on YM. C1, C2, C3, C4, C5, today C6. The fact that yesterday it still closed above previous day high was pretty crazy. But with yesterday closing above previous day high, I'm not expecting price to close above previous day high. I'm expecting either a very weak bullish close, very small body, or a bearish close. I'm leaning more towards small body just because we look at this large wick, right? I'm expecting a small body close today. But yeah, I wanted to see some sort of retracement into some internal range liquidity on YM today. But that's the daily on YM. If we take a look at the daily on NQ, a couple things. So swept this daily high, closed below. So yesterday, pretty self-explanatory why we'd be bearish yesterday on NQ. But we took our draw on liquidity pretty early, filled the daily for value gap. Now, most people would consider this to be bullish, but the number one thing I say to you all is to make sure your time frames align. So two things. One, YM took out this high yesterday, okay? So we have an SMT, that's one. Second of all, if we go to the 4-hour, the 4-hour is not showing that we're bullish at all, right? So we can really break this down. I'm trying to think, when did we take? That's interesting, actually. All right, well, we have the previous day high SMT, and YM is strong, pushing past previous day high, right? And NQ, very weak. Wait, hold on. I might be tweaking. Am I tweaking? No, I'm not tweaking. Okay. So that was yesterday, right? So we get this 4-hour CIC, the downside. So we're still in, this is still bearish price action. There's nothing telling us that we're bullish after we get this down close candle through this series of up close candles. And then also we have this large wick, which oftentimes does not really support reversal. We want a small wick. So yeah, once we get this 4-hour CIC back to the downside, I'm continuing to be bearish. I don't think anybody struggled with buys today. I think everybody was bearish, so we don't really have to get too deep into that. But yeah, going into today, we had this SMT, and then we formed a SMT with previous day high as well. I didn't mark it out just because I don't know if y'all know anything about trend lines on TradingView, but if they're like super close together, they look like absolute dog shit. So I didn't mark it out. But we had previous day high SMT, and we had another 4-hour continuation at 2 a.m. So with this continuation on NQ, I'm expecting this to be our protected high, right? Now, the reason why I decided to take a trade on YM is because at the time, YM had a no wick on the daily right here. This is our no wick. This is my target for the trade. If we didn't have this no wick, more than likely I would have traded NQ. But the fact that we had the no wick, there was no doubt in my mind that we were taking that out because that's just not how price moves. We don't leave no wicks on the daily time frame. It's not how it moves, right? But anyways, like I said, we formed this continuation. So 6 a.m. candle, 6 a.m. 4-hour candle, we're really just expecting a bearish continuation. So what do? On NQ, we retrace into this hourly for value gap. We get an hourly fractal model here. Yes, it didn't quite close below, but this candle closes below the body, so C1, C2, C3, right? So once we get that, that's C4 of the hourly on NQ, and that's also the candle that aligns with 930 open. Now, going into YM, very simple. We had this continuation. This is literally the entry I took. We had this continuation on the 30-minute after filling this 30-minute for value gap and respecting it. Also hourly for value gap. So once we close below this series of up close candles, this is our protected high. So I entered short purely off of this. You don't have to take high time frame entries, but in my opinion, if you can take a high time frame entry and it gives you good RR, I would say take it like 10 times out of 10, just because high time frame is always going to be easier to read than lower time frames. So if you're someone that struggles with finding entries on lower time frames, just stick to higher time frames. Higher time frames are so simple, dude. So simple. Because I mean, if you look here, I took my entry here, and we had a decent retrace, into this 30-minute for value gap, 30-minute sweep, and I still really wasn't that close to getting stopped out. I was like 20 something ticks, I think. So if you're somebody who struggles with entries, just use higher time frames. Anyways, yeah, I just entered off of that. I did take another entry on funded accounts. I'll get into that real quick. So market open, we had this SMT, but I'm pretty sure it got disrespected. Oh, never mind. No, it didn't. Okay. So yeah, we had this SMT, and I took a entry here on market open. I said no when Evasive said I took a 1 minute, but I actually did take a 1 minute. I took, was it this one? Yeah, I took this on YM, and then I just made sure it was 2RR. So I think my stop loss was somewhere around here. I didn't really want to show y'all this though, because this is not an entry I would advise you to take. I took this on funded accounts for a reason. I did not take this on my live. Yeah, this trade also played out. My stop loss, it was either the high of this candle or just 2RR. I really don't remember. I should probably remember that. It's kind of bad. I might have short-term memory loss. But yeah, that's really the trader cat for today. Like, probably the simplest trade of the week. Super clear direction and bias today. That's why I asked y'all if y'all wanted me to make a trader cat, just because there's not much to get into. It was extremely simple. But oh yeah, what I was looking for on NQ. I didn't get an entry on it. I didn't want to take a 1 minute entry. But the reason why I was targeting previous day low, the reason why I didn't get in is because I was expecting YM to take the no wick on the daily, and then I was expecting a strength switch, but it actually happened in reverse order. So if we just take a look at the lower time frame, off market open, YM had a pretty deep retrace, and then we see that we get a strength switch before we take the no wick. So NQ takes previous day low, and then we get another strength switch, and then YM takes the no wick. So if it would have happened in the order that I wanted it to happen, then I would have probably gotten an entry on NQ, but it happened in the reverse order. So that's why I didn't take a trade on NQ. But yeah, super simple trade recap. Pretty good week. I didn't really go in that depth. Honestly, I'm low-key feeling like shit. So like if this was a bad recap, I apologize. But if you guys have any questions, just let me know.